Welcome to the show. A sizable portion of Americans still don't seem to be ready to stomach the idea of Donald Trump becoming the next leader of the free world. Last week, Jill Stein took the lead in a movement to hold a recount for the general election results. Ken, do you think Donald Trump has anything to be worried about?
No, not really. I mean, I think that, first of all, my understanding is the recount was already denied in Pennsylvania. In addition, the other states where they were calling for the recall, it's just, I don't see it happening. Or if it does happen, it's going to be, yeah, okay, same results.
Well, and I guess the interesting question about this is how much of this did he bring onto himself by making wild allegations of millions of fraudulent votes? And is it to some degree maybe a taste of his own medicine?
Well, honestly, I've read a lot of speculation that the whole thing is just a scam by the Green Party to get people to donate money.
Well, it's very possible, and honestly, I would agree with you that I don't think it's going to make any difference at this point. And now his claim that he won the popular vote, I don't think is going to be proven to be true either, because there's enough of a difference. But the reality of the matter is, popular vote doesn't really matter as much as the electoral vote.
Yeah, but now, wait a minute now. He won the popular vote because the scam affected those 2.2 million people that really voted for him, that he didn't get their vote, so he feels that he won the popular vote.
Well,
so,
I think maybe what the recount will prove is that he might be smoking something.
Yeah, so maybe the recount will verify once and for all that the president, that 2 times in the last 2 decades,
yeah,
the person that got the most votes was not president of the United States.
Right.
That's a sad situation.
It's
yes and no.
Yeah,
because at the same time, we aren't a pure democracy, we're a republic. All right, in a republic, you need to protect the rights of the minorities, protect the rights of the individual. And the Electoral College, it makes sure that if there's, like a couple key states that have an overwhelming amount of people in them, that those states don't dominate the entire election.
Well, but the states, I guess when you put it in that sense, they don't dominate the election. That's one point. They didn't dominate, but the Democratic Party's become the coastal party. The coastal party, and most people don't understand what you mean when you say the coastal party, but it's the East Coast and the West Coast.
Right.
Well, the north part of the North Coast, and
yeah,
really with inroads in places like Colorado now.
So it's something that is coming to light. The chickens are coming home to roost. Trump thought there were scams before this whole thing started, and had this election finished with Hillary winning the Electoral College, and he having 2.2 million more votes than she had, I'll guarantee you there would be a significant bluster of confusion right now throughout this entire country.
And well, also something to keep in mind though as well, Hillary conceded.
Right.
So now we have a presidential candidate who's going back and she's joining Jill Stein's, efforts for a recount after she already conceded the election.
But is the purpose of the recount, or her backing the recount, and I certainly wouldn't claim to know, is it really to challenge the result of the election, or is it just to get some idea in case there was some sort of fraud, which there's absolutely no proof of?
I don't know. Like I said, I really think that the whole thing is just kind of ludicrous at this point, because even if they do the recounts and they find that there was some fraud involved, it would have to be fraud on the entire countryside. I mean, the entire country would have had massive fraud. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, I'm hearing, I keep hearing all this stuff about, well, you don't need voter IDs because there's no such thing as election fraud. Well, now which is it? Do we not have an election fraud problem, or do we need a recount because we had an election fraud problem? I'd like to know which it is.
Well, now who supports the Green Party here at the table?
Not me.
You're libertarian.
Yes.
What's the issue in North Carolina. They don't have a winner in the gubernatorial race yet.
Too close to call?
Well, it's been too close to call, but it really wasn't too close to call. There's a significant amount, maybe 8,000 to 9,000 votes difference between the current governor and the challenger. So you have an issue there. You can't blame Hillary Clinton's campaign for sending lawyers to be involved in this process. If you don't have somebody at the table while there's a recount going on,
sure,
you have no clue what is really happening. Even local, look at what's happened locally.
Yep.
I mean, I couldn't believe that we don't have a full slate of council members in the city of Hagerstown after the election was the 8th of November.
Yep.
Why wasn't that dealt with way before? How could you sit the mayor and 4 councilmen and not have the 5th count? I've never heard of that happening
Right.
in a government at all. That should have all been done with one swoop of the pen.
Well, and honestly, I think you bring up a good point, especially in the case of the Hagerstown election. We're not dealing with that many votes, so
Yeah.
figuring out figuring out what the final count is should not be very difficult.
Well, the problem was the final council seat was only a 10-vote difference between the final 2 candidates. So, therefore, yeah, if there was a mistake anywhere along the process that was a 10-vote mistake, that's enough reason to challenge it. But
Yeah.
we're talking, I think this is just further proof that every vote counts.
Yes.
All right,
And-
that's why you need to go out and vote, because you got that 10-vote difference there. Well, if 10 of those people decided they were staying home, the other person wins.
And what was it? One night of the election, there was a 10-vote difference, and then Penny and I was up by 2 votes, and
Yeah.
then Lou Metzner was up by 10.
Mm-hmm.
You can't blame her for asking for a recount. I guess the point there should be, and what was the deadline? The day before the new people took office?
Right.
Isn't that a little bit close?
It is. And, again, I think there's some procedural things that need to be fixed. I mean, ultimately, it shouldn't be difficult to get these votes counted. Honestly, the initial tallies, it's the absentee ballots, right, that are doing this, because the actual votes that are cast regularly would have been scanned in, and there's a much faster technological answer to it. But we're not talking about that many absentee ballots. Even if you have to go back and count several hundred votes, how long does that take? And it should have been done, you're absolutely right, within a week of the actual election. It should have been finalized.
I think military ballots have a certain time they have to be back, and it's a while.
I don't know.
They have to give people that are out of the country a little longer time for their ballots to make sure they're back.
Well, I also know some of the states have mandatory recount laws that if the popular vote is
so
within
close.
so
Percentage.
many, that they have to do a recount automatically. So maybe I would say that's a good thing.
It is, because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that no voters are disenfranchised.
Right.
So I think that's going to be the last word on that one. Up next, our panel weighs in on what Fidel Castro's death could mean for America. We're back in 3 minutes.